pick, and I like that the Kai'Sa is being taken away nice and early as well. Interesting as well to see that it's IG banning it away, you know, the Gala Kai'Sa, something that we've been definitely very hyped on, and something that I think later on in the series could be a ban that gets dropped. I'm going to be honest with you. Yunara matched here as well, so a lot of those junglers still open, still have that early power to go for the, you know, level 2s, level 3s, but instead it's Rookie grabbing his hands on the Orianna, safe, stable pick into the mid lane, and we'll have to see if Scout wants to respond or if JDG have got their own pick of the litter to go for.
Good combination with the jungle potential there as well, if they do want to go with something like that Nocturne Orianna combo, but other things like the Wukong that we had seen kind of rise with that duo, but obviously giving Rookie a staple for himself. On the other end, though, this is a pick that has kind of fallen through the ban priority, but still seems like a masterful pick when it is picked, even though with a couple losses. But the Pantheon gonna give Xun that extra engage potential.
Yeah, Pantheon a very win more and a very team coordinated champion, right? If you're ahead, you're going to do very well. If you're behind, you're just going to die over and over again, and then your team aren't going to be as incentivized to go with you. But locking in this Pantheon early definitely gives Xun that level 2, level 3 spike that I was talking about, gives him that opportunity to make plays early on and puts the pressure on Wei to be able to answer. I am now looking at Poppy, though. We talked about this being Wei's best champion for the year. I'm looking at it already having a lot of prio versus 2 champions that have got dashes, and I think that would be a really good pickup for Wei to take nice and early here. Obviously, they've now got their pick of matching AD carry, or if they want to try and take one of those really high prio supports as well, then they certainly can do. But locking in the Corki, establishing that lane priority down on the bot side early on for Peyz and Zhuo is going to be really important.
Now, do you feel like there's maybe a little bit of flexibility with that Corki potentially going in mid lane?
There's always that you always have to talk about it, right? Corki Orianna, Azir Orianna, you know, Azir Corki, these metas that have existed, they're there for a reason. And Peyz as well, not above having to bust out something like a Ziggs or something that can play a little bit safer as well. So the option is there. We can't count our chickens before they've hatched, but frequently we have seen this be played in the bot lane, at least in 2025. The Alistar getting locked in though for IG, giving them that control and that power to now ball delivery system and find those engages.
And you think, you know, Meiko's already a storied player, but if you think about it, his Alistar has like a 70% win rate on being like one of his most played champions, if not his most played champion, which is just insane over 10 plus years. It is going to be going with that Sivir to combat into the Meiko that I'm sure Zhuo will be taking here. So a lot of really big wombo combo setup from JDG going into the second phase.
Yeah, and this is a really strong lane for JDG down on that bot side as well, provided they, you know, take Corki Neeko down there. The Neeko, level 1, level 2 should be absolutely getting priority over the Alistar. Same to be said for the Corki into that Sivir matchup as well. Very easy to just Gatling gun level 1. The Sivir can't spell shield anything as well through those trades, and it makes it pretty tricky for the Sivir to fight back. Now, as we get a little bit later, if the Alistar can engage and get on top, that's when things do get a little bit more difficult. But it's about looking forward now, seeing what the rest of the compositions are looking to flesh themselves out with, because you talked about JDG having this wombo combo with the Neeko already. They need something else in that back pocket to try and pair up with it, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get to see things like those big AoE mid laners, maybe even Talia, maybe something out of the top side as well. Rumble, if it's, even though it's been a bit nerfed, taken off the board.
I was wondering if we were going to get kind of a tank setup from Xiaoxu, maybe just to be a little bit extra frontline, but we'll see how that all works out. I do like the Wukong call from JDG, just taking away a tried and true from Wei, but also that combination with the Orianna. The Ambessa is the focus towards Xiaoxu. They don't want to give him any tools earlier on in the series. The Scion ban is going to be levied towards TheShy.
And this is a pick that he's also defaulted back to very frequently, and actually has a really decent performance on at the most of the time that he's out there. So a good frontline takeaway, because IG are piloting Deathball right now. They are 5-man strong. They're going forward with that, and they probably just want a nice bridging jungler, Xin Zhao into, you know, Xin Zhao Poppy, one of those things that can act as a frontline, provide space for Gala, provide space for Rookie. Those are the 2 picks that would make the most sense. Silas ban, obviously very good when you've got an Alistar already locked in.
Also trying to keep it in back pocket for Rookie, still one of his deadliest champs, I feel like. The Rumble does come through, even though you were talking about some of the nerfs.
Yeah, I think it's still just such a good pick with a Neeko. It pairs really nicely. You've got really good kill threat with the Pantheon as well on the top side. It now kind of forces IG into a hopefully quite safe top laner. You don't really want to go something that's too squishy up there, and maybe we just see something like a Cassante, maybe an Ornn comes through as the typical answer to the Rumble as well. But for IG, you know, make sure that you've got something to bolster this front line. A really good primary engage source could come through. I do think that the Ornn for TheShy just seems like the most logical path here.
All right, see if he gets stuck in the tank role here. I do really like the Trundle. A little bit of a weird combo with the Orianna, not necessarily the ball delivery system, but they're just going to run at people, and sometimes that works too. That meatball, death ball is definitely working out, and as you had called, probably the tank side for TheShy, which we were talking a little bit about his performance in the last series on the desk as well, and maybe trying to get his feet under him for this series at least.
Yeah, let's have game one. Let's just make sure that we can ease into this series. From there, maybe we can get a little bit more spicy, and it is indeed the spice from JDG. Maybe not so much, but Aurora, you know, a pick that we've seen very frequently picked up, taken as an R5, maybe as an answer to a little bit of what it is that this IG comp are looking to do.
And taking that one away from Rookie as well, but giving Scout some tools to get into the side lanes to potentially help set up this wombo combo that JDG are cooking with. And I think it's a little bit of a contrast on how these teams want to approach things. I mean, we have team fighting on both sides, but I definitely feel like JDG want to be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, they are a little bit more pressured, I'd say, looking at the game clock, let's say, for this matchup. As soon as that 40-minute marker gets hit, you know Siv's going to come online. Those shockwaves are going to be that much more impactful. And the power of the front line as well cannot be understated. Siva has a lot of targets to auto-attack in this game. She'll probably be able to hit Meiko, the Rumble, the Pantheon as well, so those ricochets can bounce back. And when you're looking at that as a Siva, you know, you want a Siva game to be a pick where you can hit a lot of front line and then it access the back line. This looks really good so far for the Siva, so we're hoping that that can pay its way forward.
Well, before we get to the game itself, let's go ahead and bring up the predictions really quickly just to burn through them. Everyone across the board thinks it could be a banger for a majority. We do have some 3-0 outliers. Any thoughts real quick, Rood?
My thoughts, I didn't get mine submitted, unfortunately, but I do think 3-1 JDG. If JDG win, they're gonna you know, take it quite convincingly. But I do think that it'll be a 3-2 or a 3-1 for depending on either team. Like if IG win, I'm expecting 3-1. If JDG win, I'm expecting 3-2. That's the way.
Alrighty. Well, we're getting ready for this final series of the LPL. It is the final series in Shenzhen. It's the final series before we do our send-off of all our teams. 858 games with this one right here. It is absolutely incredible. And now we get to kick it all off with IG and JDG's Game 1 of the Regional Qualifier Finals.
Already early trading coming into this mid lane. Good to see that the crowd are behind these two teams as well. Rookie is just going to be able to take a recall, so those early trades don't really mean too much. Just sort of flexing, testing the waters for this 1v1 matchup.
And I'm very curious how early these junglers want to get involved. And not only are we talking about the way that they've been playing, right? We talked about the facilitation that Wei has been playing for the team. Shun playing a little bit more aggressive, maybe more carry styles. That's literally what they did on BLG. That's why Wei overtook the spot from Shun, because he was the one that was able to facilitate for the big carries on that Billy roster. And it's so crazy that a year removed from that World's Finals for both these guys, yes, Wei was on the back seat, but we see them in one last bid to make it back to Worlds, and only one of them can go.
And already JDG looking to put their foot down and help them, you know, make it so that they're the team that get to go, have this immortal almost versus the T1 roster. You can see Zhuo and Peyz really putting the foot down early on. This is the expectation when you take this Sivir, when you take the Alistair into a Corki and into a Nico as well. It's a tricky lane. Fortunately enough, Jun starting up on that top side means he's got to walk his way all the way down to that bot side, likely clear some of the camps as well. But this is not going to be an easy fight for Gala, for Meiko to begin with. Short of a Q flash coming out from Meiko, it's yeah, it's going to be brutal.
First farm, second farm, he's got some. All right, Gala's on the board now. We get a little bit of momentum down in that bot lane, but it is going to be brutal. Again, going back to where those junglers really want to focus on with these first ganks, going through a little bit more onus on Shun, on the Pantheon, wanting to get ahead, like we said, from the draft itself. But I do wonder who's going to win that Scuttlecrab fight, because you don't necessarily want to skirmish with a Trundle early.
No, but I do think looking at the state of bot lane, I just expect Wei to have to give this up. because Peyz and Zhuo would be able to move up, they'd be able to help out the Pantheon in this instance, and really that means that you can't do all that much as the Trundle in a 3 versus 2. It's just not something that can go your way. So you're looking at what he does on the top side now, and you know that's fortunate enough, I'd say, for IG, because this Rumble most likely going to be looking to try and push in that wave on the top side, provides an opportunity for a little bit of relieving of that pressure. But you can see the second that Meiko goes for an engage down here, Gala doesn't even feel confident to try and step up to try and find any sort of fight, because he knows Zhuo's just going to look for a route, look for some poke under the turret, and it is not getting too much better for the IG
Is
bot
there a
side.
dive
Now that they've got that
potential?
spell shield, it's
No.
good. It's really hard to dive, especially with Alistair there
Is,
playing
yeah.
defensive. You know, the Pantheon just goes in, he gets knocked up, he gets CC'd, he dies pretty much. And I don't know that at this point Peyz and Zhuo have got the damage. It looks like Gala's done a really good job poking with this boomerang blade. And between that and the Alistair sustain, they're doing a nice little work at keeping this HP actually quite topped off.
That's always the power of the Sivir. Once you get those abilities down, that Ricochet can clear those waves and you can get right back into it, evening up that CS differential very quickly here. But as we move forward, I think we're going to start having some of those early skirmishes. We do have that dragon coming up in about 40 seconds. Does either side really want to start prioritizing these dragons? And if I guess I would put my input in it, maybe JDG?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're the team like we talked about. As soon as we get into that 30-40 minute marker where the game's dead even, JDG need to be worried. They need to be the ones pushing the envelope, using this Pantheon, using hopefully some stuns early doors. You don't need to hit level 6. You know, the easy way that we always talk about is try and burn flash mid lane. Let's try and make a play happen, make sure that Rookie's in a little bit of trouble, and then when you hit level 6, you can start to turn that back around.
All right, Gala stepping up into JDG's bot lane, doing a decent amount of work. Meiko obviously taking the brunt end of that trade in the bot side. See Rookie and Scout actually having some heavy trades in the mid lane, though. Rookie able to get a little bit more damage on the Scout. We do have that bottom side clear coming to fruition for Shun as well. Gala's on a ward here. A little bit of vision game being played, and Wei is looking for a gank on mid.
Yeah, we do frequently talk about the weak laning of IG.
Okay, he does have to flash. He was trying to use the invisibility to dissuade Wei from moving forward, but that will still be the flash burn, so something they can revisit.
Yeah, I do think that's a little bit of a waste there from Scout. He could just walk out, especially since he has W. You know, maybe they can close the gap, but as soon as the Trundle gets in range, you just W your way back afterwards, giving him the opportunity to pillar.
Oh, Gala has no mana. He's in some trouble, gets the heal out. The double headbutt, pulverize comes through. Yeah, Shun on the edges there. Not going to find anything just yet, but going to clear some of that control ward. Peyz very low health, but maybe this means they could contest for that dragon.
I don't think that either side should be looking for this just yet. IG able to hold the wave, so keeping Peyz and Zhuo in a little bit of a tricky position here. It would have been nice to see a little bit of summer expenditure there. I think that Peyz... Oh, Zhuo?
They're TPing as well. They're bringing Xiaoxu down. Meiko almost oversteps there. If that harpoon hits, I wonder if they do try to follow that through, but they wanted to keep pressure down. They're going to move Peyz towards topside.
Yeah, good little macro play here by JDG. They use TP advantage from the top side that Xiaoxu's been able to generate to actually move him down here. Level 6 Rumble, you know you can fight the Dragon fight much better than a level 5 Sivir and Alistair. Might just have to sit and absorb this wave, but you could see as Wei completed his second play, he went back to base, wasn't really interested in looking to fight for this Dragon. So for JDG, a nice little move there, gets them gold onto them, AD carry, good move onto their top lane as well. So overall, really happy that they didn't really lose out on anything. They secured themselves the Dragon, and we'll have to see if there's a response from IG with the Grubs spawning in a minute's time. They might want to look to take those away from JDG, given that they need to push this game.
And that's the thing, is now JDG will have time to contest that if they would want to. And while Shun does have his top side to clear, I mean, he will be on that side of the map. And both of them will have level 6s between him and Wei. So a little bit more interaction available as Zhuo has also moved up. And we do see both bot lanes taking position over the Grub side.
Yeah, Meiko spending a lot of time trying to get experience with his AD carry, maybe looking for 6 at these Grubs. But Zhuo, you know, not really too bothered about it. He's resigned himself to the fact that that's not going to happen. You see the Gala actually coming out quite advantageously on the majority of these trades, but importantly, he's had to go cleanse this game. Just recognizing that he's playing versus the Nico, the Pantheon as well, maybe something that I would have opted against, but doesn't have that barrier, doesn't have that extra HP for safety. Instead, going to be relying on his ability to get out of one of those crucial spells, crucial stuns that are going to be coming his way.
Taking a look, maybe the IG side definitely has the better win percentages between the two, as we've seen, but we're going to see a play on the top side as there's the Grand Starfall. You can't be overextended like that against the Pantheon. Now Meiko, he might just have to be the sacrificial side of things for IG, as Scout has also found way here. Going to do a decent amount of damage. And Peyz, he goes over the wall with the Valkyrie, tries to get the kill there, but now he's overextended. He's going to have to flash away because Rookie was waiting with the Shockwave, but JDG have taken full control of the Grub Pit.
This is a 5-man commit from both sides. Remember, Equalizer still available. Call the Forge God still there alongside the Shockwave. Big ultimates available for both of these sides.
Nobody's pulling the trigger just yet, but here comes the Ornhorn combo. They try to go for Scout, but Scout jumps out just in time. That's going to be a grub for grub right now between the two teams. See who gets the last one. Shun trying to set up here, but no smite available there, but they will end up getting it. Now the fight after Meiko goes in. He misses the Shockwave. Meiko miscommunicates with Rookie, and that is the detriment of IG over this last couple weeks. They have not been on the same page. The Shockwave goes to the dark, and JDG come up 4-0.
It's a massive blunder between the mid and the support, and IG pay the iron price. Gala's able to walk out and catch this wave, but they lose 2 grubs, they lose 4 kills. And look at where they went as well, Mazel, onto Xiaoxu, onto Scout. Yes, you get one onto Zhuo as well, but these are really well allocated bits of gold that are going to pay their way forward into the mid game. It looks really close between these two teams, right? We've got a big engage coming through. Scout does an amazing job at going invisible. He actually absorbs the engage from Meiko and the engage from TheShy. And even after this, the equalizer goes down. It's not all that impactful. But then the re-engage from IG miscommunicated. This is a ball delivery system.
No.
You cannot flash away. That is a 3-4-man Shockwave that would completely change this fight. And then JDG know that it's just a case of running them down. Looking ahead, this is going to be a massive boost for a JDG composition that needed to win early.
Clear Love getting excited, and I'm shocked. I'm gonna be honest. That literally is like a triple kill for Rookie right there if he gets that off. And that is the difference that this early game has for JDG. They've had control of the entire map, right? They've had 2 grubs now on top of that earlier dragon. About 1:20 for that next dragon to come up. And they're already circling around that Trinity Force for Peyz, and they're starting to hit those first items a little bit sooner.
Yeah, and now it's about making sure that they just keep on pushing the envelope, right? They've got this 2k gold lead. They've got massive leads in mid lane and in top lane. Let's keep Xiaoxu moving around onto the map. Let's make sure that he can keep on using the equalizer with this completed Leandries. Let's start roasting IG alive. And honestly, for Invictus, I would be surprised if they even sniff this dragon. They do not want to go near it for fear of getting absolutely torched in the fight.
And I'm just going to give a little side shout out to Xiaoxu. Not only did he call that TP advantage play to the bot side to try to get them pressure around that dragon, he is doing this against TheShy. I'm sure a goat in his eyes, right? This is a newer player coming up against this guy for a potential shot at Worlds, right? Coming out of the mud, it felt like, for this JDG roster. And now he's sitting at 2-0-2 on a nerfed Rumble with the Leandries already completed.
Yeah, and I mean, like, what can he do this game? He's got such a big weight on his shoulders. This is a denial pick away from TheShy as well. This was something that paired nicely with the little bit of Meiko that they've got. And already, you know, honestly, looking at that first equalizer, it wasn't the haymaker that we'd be hoping for. But we've still got plenty of time, still plenty of games, still plenty of fights left to play in this first one. 2.5k gold lead for JDG, and again, to reiterate, IG should not be looking to take this fight. I think for them, honestly, if they're looking to try and find a way back into this game, try and look up to that top side. Let's see if we can make a play onto Xiaoxu. Let's get some gold elsewhere, because we are not able to fight this dragon. If JDG look to contest this as any number of, you know, a match in any way, it's just not possible.
Yeah, it's not. This is going to be JDG moving around like a group, like a squad. And I got to say, something we talked about from draft is a saving grace for IG. Once, you know, Sivir reaches that win condition that seems so far away, this team is extremely strong in the scaling conditions. In these 5-on-5s, in the meatball, just run-at-you style situations that will be coming as time goes on when these objectives become more priority.
And what I want to do is just praise Xiaoxu there. We talked about the way that IG would have been able to get their way back into this game. It would have been looking for a play on top side. As soon as JDG start hitting the dragon, Xiaoxu goes back to base. He takes his recall timer and then waits for the Nico to be out on the map with him. before he actually walks back up and takes this wave. Something that Xiaoxu has struggled with a lot is getting dove 3v, 4v, 2v1 on occasion, but this time he didn't even give the opportunity to IG for that to happen. This is a development that we've seen, or needed to see rather, moving into this postseason, and it's one that could not have come at a better time.
All right, so first items are coming through for both sides. Trinity Force there now for Wei as well, so he'll be a little bit stronger in those skirmishes. Who do you favor still in these situations if those first items make any difference?
We're still very heavily looking at JDG right there. Champions just do that little bit more in the early game. Orianna needs to pack a little bit more of a punch, where they are both going for these hyper-scaling sort of, champions at this stage. The Orianna, not a champion that doesn't do damage early, but when you build her like this, you're waiting for 3-4 items before you have actual impact in the game. I'm going to be honest. This is, food stamps, poverty build for the most part. I do no damage, and I'm just waiting until I reach 4 or 5 items to actually be able to deal these big shockwaves, because tier rower, it's snooze fest. We were flaming. I think it was probably another mid laner for it, but even still, this is a bit.
It's the super scaler.
Yes.
But Wei, Meiko, and Co are looking for a big pick. They're gonna get Woe's flash there too. Trying to use some of these power spikes, and not having flash on Nico does not set up the Pop Blossom for you. We also have about 30 seconds until that Rift Herald play comes through. Does JDG just give up the space on this map for it?
No, they should still be able to take this fight as long as they can control it. Again, they are the team that has the better composition. This is an Orianna with a 1-minute stacked Rod of Ages versus double Liandry's, Sundered Sky coming through. Everything looks good for them at this stage. I think I'd still expect them to try and find this fight. They need to take pretty much every neutral objective, snowball this game, and start to make it so there's not really any way for IG to come back into this match.
You see Shun hovering over Rookie. His old mid laner from feels like forever ago, maybe even another life. Back when Shun first started on IG, his debut in the LPL, was sitting between TheShy and Rookie, and now we see the sit-up between these teams around the Rift Herald, as Shun already doing the Rift Herald here, about half health on that one. TheShy does have TP. Scout trying to get an invis play as TP is going to come down. IG trying to run rampant in here. They don't necessarily have the tools to fight, but they're going to fight anyways. A team that's scaling, looking to take this contested one, as Shun is going to just go ahead and get the smite fight down. The equalizer from Xiaoxu really separating the fight there. They do end up getting the eye as well, and IG just showed up to watch.
Yep, in-out job done. TP back into the mid lane. Looks like that's from Scout to come in and just clear the wave, so there's nothing for IG to claim. Really well executed once again. They can get those resets on through. They've got Herald that they can use to crash top lane. They can maybe take it mid lane or bot lane as well. Again, 90 seconds on that Dragon, so it's a really good timer for them to go back to base, spend all of that gold, and put themselves to soul point nice and early. We've had one fight so far in this series, Mazel, and maybe finding our second
very
here.
one-sided. We're about to see another one, though, as Grand Starfall unleashed yet again. Shun versus TheShy. Going to get the lockdown on the tank. He's going to try to burn the horn, but he will just burn down to the ground as Shun picks up his first kill of the game.
And that's a really big pick already, right? You are using double ultis to try and make that happen, but it's on that window where you're actually going to have them back up and available before that Drake fight. And importantly as well, Xiaoxu actually didn't end up using his where TheShy does. If they were looking to contest this Dragon, if they were looking to stop JDG from going to soul point, it's going to be much harder without Call the Forge God to make it work.
That's that long distance engage that you really need for this comp, because the only other engage that you have is Meiko. You need to find a way to keep that on rotation, and Xiaoxu will just make mincemeat out of the top lane turret, continue to push this down as feats had been secured by JDG.
Mid push secured for Peyz, and the JDG business as usual, it feels like, through this regional qualifier. Really solid game number one start. No kills given over, no turrets given over, a couple of plates, but no objectives either. So far, this has been by the book almost. They needed to find a win early. They found one good fight, and they're continuing to push that. You can see them now, Dragon spawning, pushing that mid wave, walk down to the bot side. You can see that the vision toggle, if they had one, was JDG are completely in control. IG are face checking everything.
I gotta say, though, Meiko has completed the redemption. I know we all know how OP that item is right now. I Now, Cubby likes to say first team to complete redemption ends up winning, but I don't know if that's going to be the case here for IG as TheShy and Co are setting up in this mid lane, trying to figure out the angle they want to take, but Gala and Meiko getting chunked early here. Well, he's going to use the Tundra. Rookie trying to get his vision into the bush so they can move in. The Dragon not started up by JDG just yet.
Redemption going to come through, and they're going to need it. Meiko already taken so much of his HP.
He backs too.
Maybe he can spellbook and TP back in. He's still got his ulti, so they can make a fight. There's a good ward behind them as well, if they have that option available. Whoa. Rift Herald goes down.
Just use the Rift Herald.
He's going to have to walk the long way. Doesn't look like he's got spellbook available. Dragon's already started, and we're just zoning them out.
He wants to go for Gala. He's going to get the knockback. Pop Blossom, the combo. Whoa! He's going masterclass on IG. They find the big pick. They find the Dragon. This is everything that JDG wanted.
It's a 1-for-1. Yes, Xiaoxu gives his life, but look at how much control they bought. They were just sending IG so far packing that there was never an opportunity for them to fight that Rift Herald at all. Burning Gala's flash as well. When Atacon's up in 1 minute's time, when Xiaoxu still has his flash, a massive boost for them to be able to take. And this is Xiaoxu actually on the Nico having a very, very solid performance in the fight on the top side. Landed a double root to keep IG in place. Now he's hit level 6. He's already heat-seeking, looking constantly to try and find those pivotal members.
Scout sees his old teammate Meiko here, but it's Shunt versus Rookie. Seems like a little bit of bad blood there as he tries to get the kill onto him, but Scout and Shun will make it away. And honestly, absolutely crazy coincidence. That's the kind of play that LPL needs at Worlds. That's the kind of mind-melting play that will make teams just deer in headlights.
Yeah, and you know, if Xiaoxu doesn't get in here, maybe it just runs into the mid lane IG, clear it quite convincingly, but what actually ends up happening is we burn Flash from Gala. We're able to take down the jungler as well, and all for the price of our support. That's a price that they will happily pay. I think that for JDG, again, another massive win. Even if they'd have not pushed themselves to the 1-for-1, getting Soul Point is the really important part. Atacon spawned up on that top side in owing to that 4-for-0 that they found earlier. So we are going to see a little bit of a split map here where the Dragon Soul spawns for JDG in 3 minutes 30. They've got that much time, probably 2 minutes of it, to try and work their way onto that Atacon, secure it before they want to make their way back down to the sport side and make their way for the Ocean Soul.
And we'll have to continuously think that, you know, JDG need this lead. Their composition demands it in these situations. A couple thousand gold over IG, you know, 15 minutes from now isn't going to be enough, it feels like, when they have scaled to the promised land that they're really trying to get to. But this is very promising for JDG, and the fact that they are on the verge of a soul point. They have control of the map and being able to pull IG's numbers. And now potentially just getting a little bit of a play on the top side for IG, trying to get some vision around this Atacon.
And in 2025 as well, Mazel, it's really important to remember that gold isn't actually everything. As Scout may be in a little bit of trouble here, but IG play their hand. They show that these Maker's on this top side.
They're going long ways.
We have things like Soul, we have things like Atacon, and now IG routed in the top side.
This is absolute desperation right now from IG. They have TP'd both members because they realized they were getting flanked by Xiaoxu. JDG not super confident in stepping this one up, but Xiaoxu getting chunked in the end. So a little bit of scary dancing here, but neither team is going to start anything, as Atacon was the big focus, but IG going to put their bodies right back into the alcove.
Yeah, and a little bit of a chunk onto both supports. Meiko going to be able to sustain with the passive. Xiaoxu is in trouble.
He doesn't want to flash. He doesn't want to burn it, but he will in the end. Here comes the damage down. Equalizer right into the choke point. IG are going to move away. Atacon had been started up. This is so dicey, but IG just trying to find something.
And the fact that JDG have stalled means that now they can likely just move down to that bot side. The Atacon hasn't been taken, and they probably want to just take that Ocean Soul, but they know that people are still lurking around here, and now with no TPs for IG to get back in, they're even more trouble.
This is a 4v5. If Meiko's bolting up here, but the fact that we've just been hovering over this top side play, JDG, they want to make a play while they have numbers advantage. They're going to go between worlds with Scout. They're going to get so much damage on the way. Way's getting chunked here now. The big shockwave comes in on a 2. There goes the Pop Blossom with the Hex Tech as he gets 2 of them. The knockup from Meiko isn't going to be enough. The damage from Atacon is doing some work on a Peyz, but that's going to be a double kill for Scout, who has shown up to these regionals and said, I will not be denied, as JDG take yet another fight.
And it's that flash that Xiaoxu burned earlier that pays IG's fight. They cannot fight without Gala, and he gets flashed on top of by the Meiko. The Atacon is secured, and with 40 seconds on the Dragon, it depends how quickly JDG want to make their way down to that bot side. They can reset, get back out on the map. They might be able to take both for them as well. But IG just again continuing to contest for things that they don't really have a purpose contesting for. As soon as their support goes back to base, they have to run. Way's not a part of this fight either. He gets spaced out. He can't subjugate anybody to get any of that health back. And then it's Ro, sees Gala on his screen.
The Hex
The
Tech
Pop
Belt
Blossom
stopped the
finds
spell
him.
shield.
It doesn't matter that he ends up cleansing his way out of there. He has no flash. The damage is done. JDG just constantly looking, constantly finding what needs to be found and putting them in the dirt.
And I hate to harp on it, but that's still some of the miscommunication we've seen from IG over these last couple days, this last week. It's as soon as Meiko is gone, why are you still there? Like, you need to know that it's a 5v4. And now we get set up around this ultimate dragon for JDG. They could just push the tempo into an Elder Dragon 6 minutes from now.
And they're still waiting on Call the Forge God from TheShy as well. Unbreakable Will for another few seconds. So if JDG go quickly here, they might actually be able to get this one without IG being able to do a lot to contest. You can see they're going deep. They want Way.
Oh, the Between Worlds from Scout just absolutely decimated Gala. His old teammate from LNG stands no chance against Scout, who is finally finding his form. Where was he all year?
It doesn't matter where he was all year if he can perform like this and send JDG to the play-ins, if he can send them to a series versus T1 versus Faker himself. Maybe, just maybe, we can expect to see some great things from him there. This is going to be soul secured for JDG. And this is probably going to be game one pretty much done and dusted. They've got every neutral objective. They've taken every single fight. And yes, they still need to dot the I's, cross the T's. Yes, they still need to continually focus Gala. If this game's any indication of how they've been able to play this game out, we expect them to be able to do that on repeat, on cooldown, with the way they've been playing.
I mean, both solo lanes for JDG are like 90+% KP, but this Between Worlds from Scout with the equalizer just destroying Gala.
Yeah, double Iandries means he flashes out, and then the pullback on the Q from Scout means that, honestly, as Gala, you just have to flash really, really early. And now he, once again, is going to have no flash, whereas Rose Flash is going to come back up in time, where we're probably going to see JDG start dancing around the Baron and making that their next focus.
I hate to go back in time. You know, hindsight is 2020, but how different is this game if that first shockwave from Rookie gets him a triple kill?
That's
crazy, man.
Does the game end up playing out from there? That extra gold into the Orianna. You know, looking at her still, 0 1-on-1 for Rookie. Still, finally, you know, those stacking items have stacked, but it's not a Rabadon's, it's not a Ludens, it's not one of these Shadow Flame, Void Staff, big ticket items that are going to be the difference maker in these team fights. And when you're so far behind, you need that burst of damage, and at the minute they don't really have it. Gala sat on 2 items. Yes, they are big, heavy-hitting AD items, but he's so low on attack speed that actually him getting the damage down is quite tricky for him at this stage. And you know, for these two teams as well, we've got massive control, massive stakes almost for them. Was IG a team that built this super team at the start of the year, that failed time and time again in the postseasons of Split 1 and Split 2. But coming into Split 3, things looked like they'd come different, that finally they'd come together. And now in this regional qualifier with a pretty tricky loss to Top Esports, and now up against JDG, a team that in the regular season they wouldn't have batted an eyelid against. They're finding game one difficult, and they're going to have to turn that back around and hope that this super team can finally come good.
The Rookie curse is looming large over this series. We'll see if he can fight back the demons and get himself back into the series, because this was a brutal one for sure. Now we are almost on 3 items for majority of JDG's members here. Very close, already half items on 3 members. And again, they are threatening the Baron play. Still 4 minutes for that Elder Dragon, but it's really about how JDG can pull the resources of IG.
Redemption used there by Meiko just to see if they were on the Baron. Did peel JDG away, and Meiko's able to sprint his way out of danger, but he was looking for that unique flying angle. Now for the rest of JDG, are they looking for a fight at all? Zhuo fishing.
Zhuo is so terrified. He just backed off all 5 members of IG. Like, we know he could always go for a play. He has that flash available to him. And we do see some pings going onto the Baron now from JDG.
He's a control ward. He's a control ward.
Oh,
Oh, no!
Oh my God, he got them. He absolutely baited them, and here comes the Grand Starfall. Meanwhile, Scout is just fighting on the side over here with a flank as he's trying to get away from TheShy, but Gala just gets obliterated once again from the Bunny Wizard as JDG have just torn through the lines of IG. Invictus Gaming are nowhere to be found in this game number 1 of this best of 5, and JDG are marching down the middle.
They do not need Baron here, Mazel. 30 seconds on Gala, 30 seconds on Wei, and 40 on TheShy. Are they looking to take game 1 just like that? One fell swoop into the mid lane. And with only 1 kill to speak of, IG are going to go down in game 1, not even with a whimper.
The fact that Scout has showed up is terrifying for IG, and the fact that we still see those issues cropping up for IG, the togetherness is just not there, and this is their final series. JDG taking the momentum from their win and moving it into IG, taking his best first step into this best of 5, and an absolutely dominating performance from the entirety of JDG. It wasn't just one person, it was their macro movements across the map and every individual showing up.
Yeah, and it was that first fight we talked about JDG needing to snowball early, and boy howdy did they get that ball rolling. They took the first fight around the grubs and it was close, it was very tense, and you called it out perfectly. How crazy would it have been if that shockwave lands on 3, and what difference would that have made to the game? But unfortunately, the League of Legends is that game of inches, that game of, you know, small increments costing you big time. And for Meiko and Rookie, they'll be looking back at game number 1 and going, yep, from here the game was hard.
And small shout out to Xiaoxu, man. Against TheShy, against the GOAT of old, he just absolutely gapped him. That was a top diff. I don't know if I've ever seen. No, I've seen some top diffs. Definitely not in my favor. Roodood, that was an absolute pleasure to get to kick off the series with you. We'll have more games after this, but we're going to send it over to the desk to break down that game number 1 and figure out what's going on with IG. Grapes, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mazel, and I'm getting a little deja vu from yesterday, all, because we were on that cast, K-Man, you're on the desk. JDG stomping game 1 seems to be a trend here in the regional finals.
It's those first 2 games, and then game 3 we get a little bit tricky, but just a lot of questions coming out of not only the draft, but also some of the decision making coming into this game. Like, we're obviously prioritizing around Rookie and making sure that he's comfortable, but it means that we're giving up Pantheon and Nico. And then we get into game, and it's just like, we're one of the worst laning teams, especially here in the regional finals. And we're going up against JDG, who have at least proven so far here in the postseason that the first couple minutes they've got down pat.
That's exactly what it is for me, is that you're looking at a draft here that needs to scale for IG, which does play into their identity, but it gives them no tools to actually deal with their biggest flaw and their biggest problem, which is trying to stop JDG from just taking this game out of control way too quickly. The moment that first fight goes awry and you get gold specifically on the Rumble and the Aurora, it just becomes so hard to find a way back into this game from a spacing perspective. And, you know, when you're down items and you're not building damage, it snowballs out of control pretty fast.
We're going to get into our clips and our player of the game eventually, but it really was a full dominant effort here by JD Gaming. IG really showing little resistance whatsoever in that first matchup, and they're going to have to continue to step it up if they want to have a chance to win this series at all and have an opportunity to play against T1, as we have mentioned before. But, I mean, just building off of JDG, I like the point that Mazel was bringing up. He made it very much known that Xiaoxu was a very impactful part of that game here, came in, and him and Zhuo, kind of the outsiders, the new additions to this roster from JDG, definitely stepped up here in this game.
Yeah, the 2 new, Group Nirvana members coming up, and they were arguably the 2 most important players for JDG in game number 1. So really exciting to see, really exciting to see that they actually have it in them to be able to step up and carry games at this level. Zhuo had a fantastic Nico game. Really a lot of incredible setups from him, especially towards the back end of that. But the Rumble damage is what makes this so difficult to play, is just not really being able to fight on any sort of mid ground, which makes it a lot more difficult for champions like Sivir to ever free hit on the backline. You see it from the gold graph. The moment you give a lot of those resources over for free, it's kind of cooked.
Like at 10 minutes, they're already almost up like 1,000 gold, and it's like, oh, okay, well, this is the game state that we're going to play from. And it's not like IG haven't been able to play from deficits before, but we're not seeing some of that late game magic. I'm looking back at the Grubs fight, which we will get a replay of later. of missing the shockwave with him and Meiko. That is something that just cannot be happening in these games. And then you think about, for Xiaoxu in particular, how he moved around the map at the first 5 minutes was really, really clean. So I'm glad that this team is finally starting to gel. When we were talking about them from Split 3, the narrative that we had was, okay, we've now changed out topside. We've gone through 3 different supports. This was before Jwo had joined the roster halfway through the split. And now we have Clearlove as our coach. We have way too many new pieces at the end of the year. How much of this split is actually going to be used properly, and will they have enough time to get it together? And it seems like the early games from this team are really, really tight.
Yeah, and that's a common trend that we've seen over the past couple of weeks, Hulk, and that's a good sign, right? When a team has a very specific identity as like, oh, this is what this team does good versus they're just all over the place. Sometimes they're good in this stage, sometimes they're good in the other. It at least shows that they understand how to play around each other at least a little bit, and we saw that here absolutely with JDG and their early games. I mean, even going back to that Weibo series yesterday, again, just domination at the start, and then their execution towards the back half maybe can be worked on, in some of the games, but they were able to clean things up nicely. This Otacon fight was a really interesting, just kind of scuffle / dance around this objective for a very long time. It ended up working out for them.
Yeah, I was kind of happy with it. I think that the Otacon was a really special moment. We'll have a little bit more of an in-depth point about it later, but IG just never walked up to an objective properly. I don't think they had any time to really set up and build that ground that you need to. It is a composition that has so much frontline, and you have an Orianna Sivir. If you let them hit, they will win, and JDG never gave them the space to do so.
Yeah, that's the real problem here, is Trundle's not able to play